At Relentless Digital, we believe in breaking barriers and driving innovation. That's why we are extremely proud to sponsor the Power Women of the Trades podcast, supporting the voices and success of women in the home service industry. Together, we're creating a future where talent shines regardless of gender and diversity thrives. Join our journey at relentless-digital.com and always be relentless in your pursuit of excellence.
This episode of Power Women of the Trades is also brought to you by Forrest Perry of Forrest Perry Digital Marketing. Want to generate more leads for your service business? Trust his team to deliver quality new customer leads and protect your brand online. Check out perrymarketing.com today.
Hello everyone. We want to give a quick shout out to our amazing partner, Rilla, the game changer in the home service industry. Rilla's virtual ride-along software means no more physical ride-alongs. With Rilla, you can code your team virtually 100 times faster and boost your close sale rates like never before. Don't miss out. Join the movement today and watch your sales soar. Visit rilla.com/PWT to learn more.
Welcome to Power Women of the Trades podcast. This show is all about breaking barriers and changing the game. Our guests will feature some of today's most successful female entrepreneurs and other advocates of our industry as well. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, female-led entrepreneurship drives change on multiple levels. We want to empower women in the trade industry like you so you can maximize your potential, stay balanced, achieve long-term success, and claim ownership over your life. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Power Woman of the Trades podcast with Cassie and Heather. Today we have Stephanie Ollivett from Anchor Heating and Air in Charleston, South Carolina. I am very geographically challenged. So Stephanie and David are the owners of Anchor Heating and Air in Charleston, and Stephanie Ollivett works with them. But I saved my geographic challenge. I've been to Charleston once, and Steph Pastel saved me because I had strep throat, and she had to deliver me medicine and everything. And I was like, we got there at dark, and I was like, wait, the ocean is closed. And Stephanie's like, what? I go, I have literally, I guess I didn't look at a map. I've talked about that multiple times, Stephanie. On the other show. I know you have an ocean close to you. We are. And we laugh. Awesome. So we were talking a little pre-show stuff, and we want to get into all the nitty and gritty about how you got into the space and all of that stuff. So let's talk about that. And then I have some fun questions for you because I can imagine the life that you live at Anchor with there being two Stephanies. Yeah. So now I'm going to tell you the story of the Cassie story. But how did you get into the industry?
So, actually, funny story. It was a while back. I was single mom, and my daughter's time, I have twins. They're 20, almost 21 now. But I had twins, and I was working at Lowe's home improvement store. I hated my life. Ugh, I just hate. But it was flexible, and my hours, I was going to school at the same time. And my dad worked for a trucking company, and the trucking company had opened an oil business just to supply the oil to their trucks. But in the meantime, they're like, well, we got this oil business, let's make money. So my dad's like, come work with me. And so that's what I did. I went and I worked with my dad using the trucking side of it. I was, on the oil side of the business, and I was their CSR, but it was small. We had we had 2 technicians, we had 2 oil drivers. So it was just the office go-to who I did all the ticket printing and all that stuff. And I loved it. And then my husband, his brother graduated from boot camp in the military, and we went to Paris Island, and I said to my husband, we're going to move there. And we did. So this is like back in the days of Craigslist. Nobody uses it anymore, but this was Craigslist guy. And there was a job offer for a previous company down here that I applied for that Stephanie was the operations manager at. So I applied, and she immediately called me, and I was like, I'm not down there right now, but I want to be. She's like, you're going to be. So come down here. Let's meet. We hit it off. And I started out as a CSR at this previous company here in Charleston. And then Stephanie is just, her, like, she's just one of these women who she sees all these great things in you that you don't see in yourself. And she's like, I'm good. you are not going to be a CSR forever. Like, you're great. And I'm like, really? Like, I've always just been a CSR. But CSRs are wonderful, not just CSR. CSRs are amazing. And then she was like, we're moving you up. So I went to dispatch. Our dispatcher at the time actually had gotten let go. I don't know anything about Charleston. I just moved there like 2 months ago. Talk about geographically challenged. I had no idea where I was sending these guys.
Did you know there was an ocean? I
mean, yeah, we're below. So I was like, oh my gosh. But anyway, I'm like, what do I do? And like, no training. Stephanie's like, here's the phone. You figure it out. Good luck. So I figured it out. And it was great. And I absolutely love dispatching. I still love dispatching. And then I did that for a bit. And Stephanie was like, you're not a dispatcher. You're my service manager. How am I going to do that? It was a very smooth transition. I had these great relationships built with all these this whole wonderful service team at the time. And I just slid right into that role. And here we are. So I've actually been with Stephanie for over a decade. You just got right.
And she's challenging you to be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely. Like, no way. She's like, this is going to be your role. And I was like, no way. She's like, yes. That's just like the podcast. I'm like, no way. She's like, yes, you're going to.
You didn't even like, I told you this pre-show. I messaged Steph and was like, hey, can we have your Stephanie on the show? Because I like to ask the owners, if it's not the owner, for permission. Just like, sometimes people are weird. No one's ever told me no. I just out of courtesy. And she was like, yeah, just send her the link and put it on our schedule. And I was like, well, do we need to talk to her? And she said, no, put it on her calendar. But I feel like I want to give you time to back it. Yeah. And we're both meeting like this week. So Steph, I feel like is kind of trains like I do. And I think Heather has witnessed this with me at Quality. And then Kaylee behind the scenes over at her set, shaking her head. And you're like my Kelly at Anchor. But our I lead with, you're going to do it and you're going to figure it out. We actually just promoted someone the other day and she said, what my training look like? And I said, you know the plan. And the plan was, you're going to figure it out. Now, we're going to give you some tools, right? And I'm sure Steph gave you some tools, but when it's that in a person and you're like, you're going to do this and I'm not going to like shackle you onto these like boundaries. Like you're going to just go do it and figure it out. And I think often that's like how the best like leaders are created because they're allowed to have freedom and be themselves and learn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I was just going to say, when you don't give a whole lot of direction, it allows that person to really bring their own personality to the role and maybe go about whatever task they're going to do in a different way while they're also exploring how they're going to tackle this position or be successful in that position. I think if you put too many restrictions on an employee that you see value in moving into a position you see them a good fit for, it might stifle them a little bit. So not doing that allows that person to kind of grow.
And there's also a difference though, respectfully, it's my favorite word, between being able to do that with a male leader and a female leader. Because female leaders are a little more like, look, that, and sometimes, not always, but I think our male leaders at Quality would even agree, like they would like more of a structured plan and might not like try to go and seek as much as like, I don't want to say seek as much. I'm trying to tread lightly there. I'm not trying to be like disrespectful by any means, but we just learn differently. And I think that's the great thing about the differences between male and females, right? Like we just learn differently and we chase things differently.
Absolutely. Here at Anchor, our team is very lucky because they're led by Stephanie, and then of course David too. So they have more female energy for sure, but they're also great and receptive of it. That I think that if we weren't pedaling the boat this way, it'd be like, whoa, what's going on? We just lead different, right? I lead so much with care and passion, and I want them to succeed. And I'm not there's always this quote that goes around: work harder, nobody cares. I respect that for sure, but that's not how I lead. I do care. And this is hard work, and it's okay to write sometimes because I know they're going to do that and they're going to get back out in the field and they're going to do what we need them to do. But they need to know that we care,
100%. 100%.
Definitely.
I have to take note sometimes during our podcast because I'm severely ADHD. I talk about it all the time. And if not, I will squirrel out. Also in my new podcast room's windows, and so I can see all these things, I squirrel out. But one of the things I wanted to go back to that I caught was that you have twins and so does Stephanie.
Yes. Yes, we've all just, and they are the same age. And
I felt like it was like some divine intervention or divine, like that was a God plan for you two to be together. Steph squared was the plan. Like there's just so many things there.
all along, I say that all the time. And, Steph has went through so much and I respect her more than anything on this planet and love her dearly. But I couldn't picture my life being any place else. And there is just these divine interventions, the things that have happened that just brought us back together. And I'm beyond grateful for every second of that. And my daughter actually works here, one of my twins. And then Steph's son also works here, one of her twins, so it's great and absolutely love them to death.
A decade ago, and there's been some changes now.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I don't know what happened. That is a really cool, like, full circle moment for sure too. I have twins, but I didn't actually birth them. So but they're mine. But I think it's like, unless you're a twin mom, you just don't get it. Like, it's just crazy. Like, we can have a whole episode on being twin mom because it is literally, unless you're a twin mom, you don't get it. But they're like, it's a blessing for them to be twins because they have each other. But then it sometimes sucks because no one understands that they had to share an identity for so long. Mine are boy twins, but it was like they had to share friends and clothes, and they didn't have to. They had their own things, but it was like they shared friends and clothes. I remember when they were about to turn 16 and they were like, "Are we going to have to share a car?" And I'm like, "No, your brothers got their own, but it's just wild for sure." But anyway, so the dynamic of Stephanie and Stephanie in the office. We were talking about that a little bit. You said sometimes it's a blessing and sometimes it's not. What does that look like?
So, I absolutely, cannot imagine working any place better. And Steph and I are very similar, but very different, at the same time. And I think that's why we just balance out so well together. But sometimes it's a blessing. So I'll get somebody on the phone I need to have a conversation with, and it's a difficult conversation. And I'm terrible at difficult conversations. And Stephanie's so great at difficult conversations. So I'm like, they think I'm Stephanie Pastel, the owner. So I am just going to run with this. Like, what would Stephanie do in this moment? And it's a blessing for me because it takes me out as me, Stephanie, and put me in her, Stephanie, and pushes me to have this hard conversation with the customer. And all this while, they don't know it's me. They think it's her. So it's okay. And, it works out. And there are other times where it's like, okay, this is definitely
Get me off this phone. I don't want to be this Stephanie right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
All right. So at Quality, Kelly is like my Stephanie, but she's been with Quality forever. And she always jokes that sometimes she is me. So because there's too many things that involves me nowadays. Like, she needs to call and get approval for something. So she's, I probably should put this on record, but she's got my social security number and all my things, right? And then she'll have to send me and she'll be like, "There's a code getting sent to your phone right now, but don't answer because Cassie," right? And I'm like, okay. Well, it corrects me because she'll be at least gangster. She'll tell me, she'll be like, "I don't know." Sometimes I leave and I'm like, am I still Kelly or was I Cassie? So what is your day-to-day at Anchor look like these days?
It really depends on the day. Anchor is a company that is just growing exponentially. I started here with Steph and David about a year and a half ago or so, and there were 2.5, 3 technicians. And now we have 10. So the growth we had in such a short amount of time, we just all are wearing so many different hats. So I'm your service manager, primary role here for all the technicians. We do have a guy in our warehouse doing our parts running and all of those things. But as far as parts ordering and stuff, I'll do that. And then also our dispatcher happens to be my daughter. That dynamic is interesting as well. But so she'll order parts, I'll order parts. We work on that together. And I also do the call center. So I'm constantly listening to phone calls, reclassifying calls. How can we get better, creating better scripts, doing their meeting, doing the service meeting, getting prepared for all of that, putting together, trainings. And, we're trying to get us prepared for summertime. It's our time in Shawnee. This is go time. So it's constant.
What does your training schedule look like? I know that's always a great thing to talk about because we are all doing training, but what does that look like for Anchor?
So here, as far as our technical training for our service technicians, we focus a lot on that. during our shoulder season, when we have more time to spend to dedicate to all of that. We're not like ground running right now. That's where we're at right now, ground running. So a lot of our technical training is done, primarily in, January, February, March, and usually, November and December. We spend a lot of time. So this gives us the opportunity to take technicians out of the field for a good bit of time where we're not really, worried about missing a lot of calls. I mean, it's still a business, but we still have to train. We have to balance it out. So our balancing is, you know what, we might have to push a maintenance or two off for another day. We're going to get to them. That's okay. Their systems are still working. So I'm okay taking technicians out of the field then. Right now, our training, we are working right now solely on, we do, of course, always technical training here and there, but solely on really our customer service. We have to set ourselves apart. Everybody's going through the same thing, and you can't just say, I set myself apart because we wear booties. Okay, everybody wears booties, Everybody's like, okay, what's something I can do in your home to help you? Like, we're all asking those questions. We need more. Like, we have to be more than that.
I just follow that conversation. There was a conversation kind of like that on social media the other day, and it said maybe someone asked that, like, what sets yourself apart? And it is a really hard question because we know in our hearts what sets us apart, but then we immediately go into that. Well, we wear booty, we park in a great spot so we're not inconvenient to you. We are, okay, those all are like the little things that do matter because like we were talking the other day, one, when you make a mistake in a customer's house, for example, you accidentally set their ceiling. That's going to happen. That's inevitable. Like anybody who's like, we've never stepped through a ceiling. I'm like, bullshit. You've had someone step through. Okay, because you're talking about humans in an attic, okay? But maybe that's a big deal that maybe, if you didn't call, that we were talking about this with our install team, actually. If you didn't call us immediately at the office and say, hey, I accidentally, and then the customer has to call us. Now the customer is going to be like, and they also were in my way in the street. And they also, that one thing became a whole bunch of little things, right? Because we're not communicating. So communication, I think, when we start talking about that, like what sets us apart, like communication, it is truly something that you can say that sets you apart, but it doesn't, most of the time it doesn't because we are so tightly wound with our teams. But again, what other things set you apart? And I would challenge people listening to think about that. It's not all the things that, we have a great brand. Yes, absolutely we do. So does Anchor, right? We have, and guess what everyone in your area is trying to do? Get a great brand. We were the first.
And copy what you're doing. And I think the testament to, a good company out there is to how that is a revolving question, always questioning the whole team. Like, what are we doing to set us apart? Because that's going to evolve and change over time.
Right. And so challenge yourself and say, what is it that sets us apart? What are the top 5 answers? And say the top first is our customer service. That's right. And everyone's going to say that. It's our customer service. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. But like, you got to live and breathe it and really know what it is. And I think that sounds like a huge focus for you guys. And I love that. I love Steph and David, and I loved watching the growth. And we actually just added Stellar Garage Door, and I was messaged Stephanie. I was like, I really want to add purple.
You saw that. We're like, oh man, there goes some more purple.
At first, she was in agreement with that. That's trade for her.
Yeah, I messaged her and was like, hey, and I want to take credit. I'm going to tell her, I'm putting this on record. One day, someone messaged me and was like, Stephanie. And I was like, Steph, who? And which Steph? Because there's a lot, right? I said, Steph with the pearls. And they were like, yeah. And I go, okay, well, now her TikTok handle says Steph with the pearls. And I'm like, I would like to take credit for that. I did. She was probably like, whatever, guys, he's always with that. But I love that that's her thing, right? Like, those are the things that all add up of the one piece, right? And so I think you guys could probably relate to this too, because just talking to her from time to time, and especially in your market, without getting too saucy with the details, y'all's market is kind of like Tulsa and has been a little cutthroat at times. Not like it's really cutthroat, and it's wild, but there's been, what I've noticed from afar, a lot of copycats and replication that's tried in your space to copy what Steph and David have put together. And I think I could say that what I remind myself and our team a lot is copy us. You ain't got our magic.
Right. We say that all the time. Go ahead, copy us. I mean, it's flattering, really. I mean, we know we're great, and absolutely, but you don't have what we do here. You don't have that secret sauce.
That's It's so true. And the other side of that is you see somebody copy what you're doing, but most of these companies are not going to implement it with the vision that we had when we came up with the idea. And so it's like, go ahead and try and copy us, but you're not going about it in the same way that we did. And they don't ever succeed. We keep a step ahead of the competition by constantly reevaluating, what are we doing for our customers? What are we doing for our team? How are we setting ourselves apart? And it goes back to that, what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, it's the heart that's in it. And it's different. Like when you're the one who's creating it and you're the one focusing on it, it's your heart that makes the difference. So you can copy it, but you're not going to have that same emotion behind it that we do.
100%.
Yeah. Are you most proud of since becoming a manager at Anchor?
Oh my gosh. So much, really, just the team that we have created here. I have worked at, this is a dirty word, I know, PE companies, and I can never go back. And if people do them, that's great. But the camaraderie that we're able to build here, and not saying you can't in a PE company, but just what I have seen, experienced myself, just the level of care that we can have for our employees is second to none. And they just show that. They're out in the shop and they're laughing together. They're joking around together. They're helping each other. They hang out with each other outside of work. They call each other on the phone. I say, hey, I need you to drive. Now, traffic here in Charleston, horrible. You would go 2 miles and takes you an hour. I need you to go drive from here to here, and it's a 45-minute drive. No problem saying no more. He needs my help. That's what I'm going to do. Being able to do that with Steph and David has absolutely been the highlight of everything that I am. When I have worked at other companies before, it was held back. I wasn't allowed to care like I do because everybody was a number. It doesn't matter. For me, a win is, yes, a converted call. That's a win. But for me, a win is also, you might not have converted that call, but you went to that customer's house. You did a great job. They called in. They complimented you. They might not have bought anything, but that's a win. And be proud of those things. And sometimes that's taken away. So here, I love that we can celebrate everything. It's not just about the revenue. It's about everything that we are. And the team, they just know that. That is absolutely the highlight of me being here.
And when you build, do you know that you've really built something that's profound with these people whenever they do those things for each other? Like yesterday, for example, we had some significant storm. Heather lives in Oregon, and she got an app so she can track the weather in Oklahoma. But Oklahoma is the Wild West sometimes with weather. And she'll be like, what's going on? And I'm like, Heather, tornadoes, lady. Okay, that's what's going on. But we had some tornadoes coming in yesterday, and we use Microsoft Teams, and one of our guys had a flat tire, and he posted in our all company chat. There's like 90 people in that chat, and he was about to get pounded with this storm. And so as a management team, we're all like freaking out, trying to figure out how we're going to get to him because he couldn't find the jack, which FYI, if any of you have a Ford Maverick in your fleet, you do have a jack. It's just not where you thought it should have been. Okay. But, Google it. But anyway, so we're all watching our team, like his team, his peers be like, I'm 5 minutes down the road. I'm coming. I'll help you. I'll do this. Like that in the moment of me, I wanted to be like, oh, my babies. They're all like,
You cannot put a price on that at all.
They just get like,
it's invaluable to see the way that you can rely on a team.
Yeah. It's just like, that's what matters. That's when you're building something more than a job. Everybody, and something I always say is like, it doesn't matter it does matter where you go and where you work. But at the end of the day, if you're still in this industry, you're still going to customers' houses, you're still dealing with people, and you're still doing the same job, right? So someone else is dispatching you, but the support that you have in the friendship and the camaraderie is what's important. Because you would go work at another company, and if your frustration is the job, maybe it's not the company, it's the job, right? And no one's going to change that. The customers are still going to be the customer, right? The house is still going to be the house. And no one's got just like, oh, we only serve the best houses that smell really great and are perfectly well kept. And the furnace is in a very easily accessible attic or access. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's never going to happen.
If only. But having the reliability of your team is something that even on a bad day, you can reach out to your team and you're going to get the support that you need. And that's not going to happen in every company.
No. I mean, and I've experienced it firsthand where it doesn't. And they're like, oh, well, he'll figure it out eventually, But here it's like, we're on it. We're helping you. We as group meet for our whole inter-office chatting, and we have where there's like wins and kudos chats, and our employees, they go in there and they say, I just want to give a shout out to, this technician because he did X, Y, and Z, or I want to give it a shout out to this CSR because she did really great on this call. They call each other out for great stuff. They cheer each other on. They celebrate each other. We have parties together, kids graduate, employees, we all go to their celebrations. I mean, it's truly, and everybody will say, oh, our family's a company. No, truly, like, we are a family here. If we are broke down the side of the road on a Saturday night at 6:00, I can call anybody and they're going to come and they're going to help me out. There'll be calls lining the board, and one of our install vans wouldn't start. And our technician who lives, mind you, he drives here almost 2 hours each way every single day just to work here. He's like, don't worry about it. I got it. At 6:00 at night. He's like, he was on his way home. He turned around and went to go help them out. I mean, but it's just great. It's a breath of fresh air.
It really is. And, for a while,
It's incredible.
For a while, it was like the popular thing to say. I remember hearing and seeing it on TikTok. It's like, if the company that you work for says that they're a family, that's the first sign of toxic, and get out and blah, blah, blah. And that was like the trend to say. And I was like, for a little bit, I wouldn't say we're a family, because I felt like I needed to did I believe that, like what TikTok was saying or whatever? But I think that maybe in some cases that can be bad. And then you have to think about, like, kind of family. Is it a toxic family or a good family? But we are building things that are a good family, and that it's a good relationships and long-term relationships. And those things matter. And that's not something you just create overnight. That's not something you just snap your fingers and say, oh, we're a family or whatever. It takes work, and it takes the leadership being committed to that and showing, being the example, and then big things start growing from there. I love that. Well, Stephanie, it's so cool to talk to you and see some of more of the inside of Anchor Heating and Air. I personally, am personal friends with Steph, and I have loved getting to watch everything with her through the years, but getting to hear someone from the inside, I just love it even more. Like, it's a really cool experience, and I'm so proud of them, but so proud of you for being able to do that and grow with them. And I can't wait to keep watching of what Anchor has coming.
Yeah, it's a great place, and of course, everybody always talks all about their company, and it's true here. I mean, everything that Stephanie says about every single person here is true, and we have those people who they might not be a fit, and it's one of those things where you immediately will know if somebody's not a fit for the company, just because we have such a great culture here that when you have that, if somebody's going to be a fit or not. So it's an amazing place to be, pearls and all.
And you could tell. You're absolutely correct.
So Stephanie too.
So, yeah, you're absolutely correct, Stephanie. Like,
if you're out there listening and you want to talk more to Stephanie Ollivett about her career and how she's grown into the position she's in, or like some advice of doing those types of things, we'll be sure to include some information in the show notes of how to reach out to her. I hope this inspires someone listening that you can do anything that in this industry, you can become anything you want to be, and there's all kinds of opportunity for you out there.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being on the show, Stephanie.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Thanks, Stephanie.
This has been Power Women of the Trades. Like what you hear so far? Leave us a review in Apple, and make sure to listen to our other episodes wherever you enjoy listening to your podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.